session. Hey, Brad.
To be fair, Scott, when we're doing these webinars, Dan's not really sitting right next to me. We are virtually connected, but
yes, we know.
Thank you very much. The visual was too much for me to handle right there. So hello, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday Q&A webinar. My name is Brad Williams. I'm one of the managing partners here at Trade Ideas, and I'm super excited to show you Trade Ideas, bring our Q&A webinar, answer any questions that you may have. The format is it's really interactive. I'm going to go through the software about the first half of the webinar, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the features and functions. I'll show you some of the newer pieces of functionality that we'll be releasing, and towards the end of it, I'll just take any questions from you guys and either explain it to you or show you through the software what you may be asking. So let's get right into it. Let's get rid of the disclaimer right here. We are not a registered investment advisor. We are a software technology company. We help you find ideas in the stock market. Do not look to us for investment advice. We have no idea of your risk tolerance, although we do mention symbols in these webinars and we kind of bang on them quite a bit. Please don't take these as recommendations or trading advice. So now that we got that out of the way, there's a lot of great stuff happening in the market right now. Actually, from a perspective of market manipulation, and we really feel like we're at the forefront of that right now, giving you guys complete visibility into the marketplace, and we're kind of met with a counter approach by the brokers, not allowing necessarily a free market, and we're really against that, and we want it to be known. So that's our note on that. We're also explain that on our homepage. If you go to our homepage, there's a hyperlink on what we're doing here at Trade Ideas and how we got started. Community, and in particular, what's been going on with GameStop and how it's being manipulated in the marketplace. It's kind of a timely, this is a slide from last week, so it's not new or anything. It's something that we've been talking about, and it's kind of a timely slide because there's been a lot happening with this particular stock, at least towards the latter end of the market today, and we'll talk a little bit about that and look at that and kind of see how that affects other areas of trading. Yeah, this was Dan's slide last week as well, where he was talking about how difficult it is to accumulate some of the ME was really being restricted by the brokers changing their margin requirements, mandating that you have a lot more capital if you have a margin account to be able to trade this particular stock. And it's not just this stock. There are a few other really volatile stocks that have been really curbed by the brokers and really going so far as to really manipulate the market and not allow it to be a free market like we all want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and close the presentation because it's not really about a presentation. Panel open, so do that. If it's something that you want me to talk about or display on my screen here, maybe questions from you guys. Extra windows on here, I'll show you what the situation that's taking place, where issue is much more than the float allowed. So and maybe ultimately some of the brokers and clearing firms do top list windows or through even your own price alerts that you have. We take in all this market data from a variety in our data set. That metadata are using the way volume goes through the stock and all these different time frames. Stocks that on average trade, say, 250,000 shares a day. Maybe it has to. Those are the types of filters that you can add on it. Before I go into it, I'm just going to double click on right here. I'm going to have it sort on the count column, which is telling me count that have the most post-market highs. And if you stretch, it's going to give you a much bigger view. Look at our data and visually. So I'll get a nice list, and I'm going to my servers and bringing in a bunch of different, the sort that determines the number in these four that you see right here. If I sit here, window on post-market volume. So the high from the symbols channel that we've built will feed from that to be stocks that are being and high short. You can get multiple stocks at the same time. So you when sort windows that you want to have in here chart. When we're talking about something like this, more than it wasn't that long ago back in the market, and there's nothing like this. So there's a meritocracy of traders today. Barry's going through and typically that are going to populate in these. This is a nice Brokerage Plus channel. I'll talk more about Brokerage Plus. Brokerage Plus open you to trade directly with, but I think I've been this particular, and again, this is not investment advice, but what it did before, or just going to let it jig around here, and a lot of these it's a great way to find other options to trade. You could right click and you can to be able to create your own custom channel. So, you know, maybe that's the window that I want to use. Maybe I want, not that I do, but maybe I want this window right here. I'll just grab that and I'll go ahead and pin it and go through the other channels and find something that I may like. The stocks like this is an interesting channel because if I go ahead and on this chart select that heart right there, and you can see it's now filled in red, that means I've liked the stock. And by doing that, it populates a symbol list, what we call our My Liked symbol list. You can go ahead and build any type of alert window off of that. But if you go to this channel right here, it'll kind of, you can see exactly how we did it. So My Liked list is going to pop up right here. If you right click in here and go to configure kind of a little under the scenes right here and you go to symbol list, it's looking at the My Liked symbol list. So that's particular to me. You're going to have a different one, but if you select it, it's just going to look to your lists. If you don't have it visible right here when you pull it up on the symbol list tab, just go to add existing list and just find it down here. You'll find it in this list right here. I think it's the second one from the top. So that's the My Liked channel and the My Liked functionality. If you wanted to, like I said, just to show you, build an alert window off of that. Maybe I just want to, I'll start from scratch and I'll just do something really basic. Stocks making new highs and new lows from that symbol list. Do I not see it right there? All right, let's find it. My Liked. It's probably there. I'll hit OK. And now what I want to do is define what columns do I want to see. All of them are available from the search tab. We've got the ones that you've used frequently populated over here on the right. So if I just want something like price, relative volume, change from the close, now this is going to be My Liked alerts, highs and lows. So now it's just going to be a real simple window looking at those, different than the top list. And actually, for me to be doing this post-market, I'd want to do something, I'd want to add to this as well. So what I'm going to do is I'll go to the search tab, and I'm going to scroll down, and I want to bring in the post-market highs and lows too, because bringing in the new highs and new lows are great for the regular market session, but nothing's going to happen right now. So we'll bring those in. I'll hit OK, and now we can get that. Right, so it's in my top list right here, but now I'm going to have an action. There's going to be something that's going to trigger me to just making a little post-market low. It would probably help if I had the post-market data showing right here. And if you want the pre-market data, you just go right-click properties and show pre-market data. And you can see the orange is your pre-market, kind of like the sun rising, and the purple-violet light color is your sun setting. Let me show you something else that's kind of cool. Let's bring in the, you can never find these ones down at the bottom, this expert only. So the expert only, we do some really interesting things with the top list. And these bottom three top lists I find pretty interesting and really good educational tools. This volume radar right here is really looking at volume, and it's ranking this based on relative volume. So it's the stocks with the highest relative volume are going to be here on the top. But I've got these other volume categories like this 5-minute volume, you know, where it's doing tremendous 5-minute volume or 30-minute volume. This happens to be locked in at the end of the day. So you can see the last time I'm on the West Coast and we stopped the market at 1 o'clock, or that's when the regular market session ends. But if I wanted to turn this on to something that's going to be always live, not just during the market hours, I'll just right click, go to time frame and hit live always. Now I'm going to get, you know, the most current information as it pertains to volume. So when you find something like something trading 278% of volume, a 5-minute volume in post market, you know something's really happening. So this could be an interesting one to sort on as well, or the 30. And so that way you can bring in some new ideas into the window, you know, that has already been configured, because those symbols are in here. They're just not up at the top list. So this allows you to kind of really drill into whatever focal point you're looking at. So that's the volume radar. I just saw that. I wasn't even going to show that one to you, but I do like the way that we slice and dice volume up. Relative volume, that data point, by the way, is looking at the amount of volume is currently happening in the stock, comparing it to normal, but it's specific to that moment in time, that time of day. So it's cumulative up to that time of day, not just at, say, an hour and a half after the market, but up to an hour and a half after the market. How is it doing typically on the volume? So that's a pretty powerful filter. I use that all the time when I'm configuring strategies, and I always have it visible in my alert and top list windows. It's one of the header fields that we have. Like if I go right click, send to, and I bring in the single stock window, it's one of the fields that we have up at the top on the detail tab. Doing normal volume, when it's 0.85, it's doing 15% less than normal volume. If it's doing a value of 2, that's 200% or 2 times its normal volume. So it's a pretty simple value to interpret, but very, very powerful. So these 2 top lists down at the bottom are also very, very unique and cool top lists. What they're doing here is I'm bringing in this top list right here. I'm bringing in, and this is where it becomes relevant what we have our server-side sort. So I'm just going into the configure, and as I go to my server-side sort, what I'm doing is I'm bringing in the top stocks that have had the biggest change from the close. So in this case, the smallest, so the biggest losers right here. And in this one here, I'm doing the opposite, where I'm bringing in the biggest gainers on the change from the close. So that's my server-side sort list. And in this window right here, if I right-click and I go to set record count, I'm bringing in 100 symbols. So 100 of the top or bottom gainers for the day, and 100 of the top losers for the day, and 100 of the top gainers for the day. So that's what's populating this. But my sort order right here is really what makes this list interesting. So remember, these are losers, these are winners, but now these losers, I'm going to sort it here on stocks that have moved up the most over the last 30 minutes. You can make that 15 minutes, you can change that variable, but right here we're looking at 30 minutes, and as you bring that in, it's not as interesting post-market because this has been down, but when the market's really roaring, this is where this really becomes super interesting. In fact, it's frozen at the end of the market. Let's see what pulls in here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So this is really something that's been meant for trading hours, and we're doing the opposite right here, where we're looking for stocks that have moved up the most for the day, but have pulled back the most over the last 30 minutes. So just giving you that flavor. So really interesting ways to look at the top lists. And if you want some of the more standard ways of looking at the data, you can go to this explosive winners channel right here, where we're slicing and dicing the winners up on various time frames, whether it's today, like we see right here, or for the week, for the year. So these are the top list windows. And then this right here is just a streaming multi-strategy window. And I don't think I've talked much about the multi-strategy. Let me bring in my custom one. So I'm going to bring in the my custom channel. This is kind of my go-to channel, my go-to workspace that I typically have up. I'll go perusing different channels through the day, but I've essentially borrowed the best windows from the different channels that I like, and I've made my layout to reflect that. But this multi-strategy window, we haven't talked about it, but it's very much like an alert window where you're getting a chronological list of stocks populating in here, a real-time event. But it's super powerful because if I right-click and I go over to strategies, you can see all the different strategies that are in this window. So each one of these strategies is like its own unique alert window. So I could take this new 52-week low on high relative volume. Let's take the 52-week high, and let's just open it up. So I can pop it out. So essentially now you're looking at an alert window, but that's embedded in here. So anytime this symbol would occur, and it's probably not going to happen post-market, because if I go into it and take a look at it, I don't see a post-market high. So I could go in, and if I wanted to modify this, everything that we have here is completely modifiable. You can't modify these channels, but you could take this and you could customize it to the type of window that you want. So you can come in here, this new 52-week high on high relative volume, go to configure right here, and now I could go ahead and add in this post-market high and put that right there. So it should still be a 365-day post-market high, and hit OK. And that's how I would modify that to be able to give me data after hours. I don't do a lot of post-market trading, so I'm not sitting here looking at that. So it's not really important to me, but everybody's different. Everybody has their own trading style. It's as unique as a fingerprint, really. So that is that. We're about halfway through. I think I'm going to kind of look at some questions here. I'm not going to take them yet. I'm just going to see if there's maybe a direction I can show you before I start taking questions. So Joseph, you do have a question here regarding the AI capability of sending alerts through email and text. We are working on that. That's not available yet, but we do have the audible and the pop-up in the software, but we are really fortifying our mobile offering. We're going to be working on that a lot this year. So not only from a perspective of being able to get your information onto a mobile device like an SMS message or something like that. So let me show you how to get the audio on that. So let me bring in my Brokerage Plus. I think it's right behind here. So I'm sorry, it wasn't Brokerage Plus that you want. You want AI. So you can do it for both. So let's go to the AI channel right here. So this happens to be the Omni Ai Channel. And the Omni Ai Channel is really a consolidation of these three different AI segments that we have. And I was listening to Barry earlier talk about this, and I absolutely concur with his thought process on this, which is it doesn't really matter what segment it comes from. It doesn't really matter whether it comes from Holly AI or Holly 2.0. And in fact, we've had some real deep discussions about just really consolidating these different AIs into one. They do work a little bit differently, which is why we've kept it segmented right now, but we're always kind of playing with the concept. If you want to go ahead and bring audible calls into this, you would just on the strategy trades window, and it doesn't matter if I'm showing all segments or one, it just doesn't matter. You can go to the actions area right here, and by default, I believe that Omni AI is set up this way. We've got the play sound, and you can set up the sound, and if you have the text to speech option right here, it'll call the symbol out, RCL, PLX, and it'll in a little bit more of a computer manner, but it'll do that for you. Sometimes it tries to say the word, but either way, when you hear an audible alert, which I have my price alerts set up to that, when I hear something, immediately my attention is drawn to it, and when I have something like that, it pops up in my price alerts. I hear it, and I pull it up on the chart and make a decision at that point whether I want to participate in that signal or not, and get long, get short, or get out of my position. I do price alerts for a variety of reasons. I used to be a super short-term trader. I mean, seconds. I would be in and out, and while there are times that I do that, I really kind of stretched it out quite a bit. And one of the methods of doing that is really using the price alerts to kind of settle myself, and I can just take something like this, even though it triggered, and I can say, all right, when this thing gets to 12:10, I want to be notified. Maybe I want to put on the position at that point. Maybe I want to add to it. Maybe if it pulls back, this right here is let me get rid of this signal right here and show you if it pulls back, and let's say it comes back to like say 11:27 or so, I can create a price alert. Let's just make it 11:20, and I can say at this point, pulled back enough, I'm potentially thinking about getting long, so let's put that in there. So now essentially I've sandwiched this particular stock right here. I'm going to be alerted to it one way or another. I'm going to be alerted to it when it peaks above 12 right here. I'm going to be alerted to it when it drops below 11:20. So I use that quite a bit. I think it's really effective if you have eyes for the market. If you don't and you're just starting out, that may not be as effective, but we do give you this little value right here that lets you see exactly how you're doing. It's kind of keeping track from the point the alert was triggered, how many points are you up or down from that. And so you can, I have a ton of price alerts, so that doesn't really mean anything other than is that number going up or is that number going down? Relative value is kind of important. So the audibles can be set up in all the different windows. And if you have it like this right here, well, the price alert doesn't do it, but if I go to another window, maybe something like this right here, and I go to actions, I can not only have it play a sound, and it can be unique to this particular window, so it doesn't have to be a voice synthesized text. It can be ding or anything, any of your window sounds or your own WAV file that you create. But then you can also have this show alert window and it'll pop it up for you. Yeah, Joseph, so it will pop up as soon as you have that. So now I don't think the charts pop up. I don't think we have actions to that, so that's not functionality that's there. So now I need to take this action off because it's driving me crazy. Show alert, play the sound. I can just close the window. We do not have any plans to integrate charts with TradingView, although we are actively enhancing and modifying our own charting package. So yeah, Dimitri, I mean, I don't even want to tell you we can do it right now, but we can. I'm going to say it, but I'm not going to support you on it. We do have the ability through an alert window and an SMS message to your phone or send an email message. You may want to email support for that. It will take the rest of the webinar for me to show you. That's one of the reasons why we're redoing that whole component of our software. While it can be done, it's not incredibly user-friendly, and we want that to be much more user-friendly. Brokerage Plus. Let's just talk a little bit more about Brokerage Plus. So right here, we're connected to, in fact, let me close both these connections. And let me go ahead and just connect to our simulated trading. So everybody has access to our simulated trading. And it operates through Brokerage Plus. And you can enter your orders in very much the same way that you would if you were trading your live account. So that's why I recommend this is the place you should start before you go ahead and move it over to IB. And we've made some great enhancements on E-Trade. I thought it might be stuck in the water for a little bit, but this should be coming out pretty shortly. Again, we had released it and then we pulled it because of some problems. I mean, really the last thing that we want to be doing as an idea generation company is giving you some software that's allowing you to connect real time in the marketplace and send orders. It's not perfect. So we pulled it and we'll be bringing it back shortly. So that's E-Trade. But we're looking at the simulated trading, and stretch this out a bit. I don't know, I must have added some additional columns, but I want to point this out. So when you're in these positions, so some of these are closed, 2 of these are closed, some I've lightened up, but when you exit out of some of your position, it populates this distance from the exit price. So this is kind of really to look at your trades that you exited out of and perhaps may want to, I don't want to say have fear of missing out or anything, but may want to get back in for one reason or another. Maybe you had the right idea, but the timing was off and the market wasn't ready. Whatever the reason may be, this little column right here lets you know exactly how far that stock has moved away from where you got out of it. So in this case right here in VXX, you know, I lightened up on, I had a couple hundred shares, I had 200 shares at the time, and I lightened up right here. And you can see here that the stock moved down an additional 45 cents from the point that I got out. So it's nice to not have to be pulling up each one of these stocks to have that bit of information. Here's another one that I closed out and not much happened, right? So I'm only 7 cents below where it is. You know, ideally when you're long, you want to see these guys below. This is a real killer right here. I was trying to short Twitter and I did, but I didn't have any, I was a week short, as they say in the game. I didn't want to hold a loser on this thing. I wanted to capitalize on the timing. The market just wasn't with me here. But what happened was I sold it here, I bought it back. Okay, it moved up, I sold it short here, ended up buying it back. And then it just capitulated right after that. But you can see what's going on here is that when I got out of it at this point right here, it moved $1.60 in the direction that I wanted. It's negative because it's going down. I had to know I was short, but that's giving you that indication that, boy, my idea was right, my timing was wrong, and I was a little bit of a weak short right there. If you come into something like this guy right here, I bought some, I came in long, I bought more, and I bought more, ended up selling a little bit that I bought, and that's just where it is. But you can see that real time. So I recommend that you guys, if you use Brokerage Plus, that you definitely make yourself aware of this particular column. I also like these profit change last 5 minutes and last 60 minutes right here, because it lets you know. We also have how much has it moved in a penny perspective, but this right here takes into consideration the amount of shares that you have and lets you know from a profitability, how has that stock been moving, or how have those stocks been moving. Make it really easy to, once you're in a position right here, if you didn't put in a stop price, so I can come here, I can see where I bought it, and maybe I want to put a stop price right here at about 1760. To do that, you can just right click and add a stop order. And I'll just make that 1760. I'll add it. Then it gets populated on the chart right here. And you can see that if I happen to get stopped out with the amount of shares that I have, 100 shares, I'm going to end up losing $14, $14.50 when I get stopped out right here. So we try to make it pretty easy. If I wanted to put in a profit target, and I don't like putting in profit targets because I'm not that clairvoyant and don't really know exactly what I'm looking for here, but I'd like to do continual assessment. But let's say I want to put my profit target at 1868. Then I could go right here, right click, and I can add a target order, put it at 1860, and I'll add it. I should have moved it down a little bit, but let me do that. So it's above my view right here. Let me bring it down. $18.39, it should appear right here. I don't know why it's not, but it might be too high to the top. So that's a very easy way to put in your stop, put in your target orders. Yeah, there it is. What else can I show you here on Brokerage Plus? This hide zero positions is also a real nice piece of functionality. For those of you that don't care to look back on stocks that you got out of, you don't want to look at Twitter again because you're pissed off at it, or for whatever reason, you can just go ahead and hit the hide zero positions and it's gone. Your P&L is still going to be the same. You know, you're not getting rid of your potential winner or loser here, but it just gets rid of it from your view, which makes it nice. This equity curve that we're giving in Brokerage Plus, really it's invaluable because it allows you to see exactly how your profitability has gone from the inception of the day. So at the beginning of the day, I was up 200 bucks here, and looks like it went up 600, came back, and ended up just about 4. So it gives you a level of detail that you otherwise would not have had. Can I set up caps in the AI? I don't know what that means, Ricardo. Can I set up caps? All right, so if you have, Alfredo, if you have a problem having data in the pre-market, one, please send us a cloud link to info@trade-ideas.com and we can help you out. But I suspect what's probably happening is if I go to, is it a top list window or is it an alert window? And it doesn't really matter. Fine, it doesn't really matter. Here's the caveat to it. Let me go ahead and start from scratch. I'm going to put in a new high and I'm going to put in a pre-market high. And I'm going to put in a relative volume value of 1. I'm going to hit OK. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a quick history. I'm going to history time frame, and I'm going to capture it from 6:31 a.m. That's a minute after the market opens, and I'm going to go to the very beginning when we fire the servers up, just before 4 a.m. Let's run a quick history here. So funny. I should have done some. Let me do something real quick. Let me put a filter here. Price between 2 and 3. History today. Oh, history time frame. Okay. I got nothing pre-market right here, right? It's not that I had more available, it just had nothing pre-market. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to configure, and I'm going to remove the relative volume filter. Relative volume does not work pre-market. So if you have that as a filter, or you have it as a sort order for your top list, the server-side sort order, nothing's going to come in. So if we do this now, hit OK, and run history, time frame, so I've got pre-market data. So I think that may be what's happening. Now with historical data in the AI, let's look at the AI right here. So you can right click and you can go to history. I could pull in yesterday's AI calls if I want and bring that in. You could actually take these and copy them into a symbol list and then have an alert window or a top list just looking at that symbol list. You could even take this and go history, time frame. We could say today, but we want to go back 14 days. So now I'm going to be presented with all of those calls that have happened over the last 14 days. And again, you can make a symbol list with that. And by grabbing these different symbols right here and dropping them into a symbol list, you go to Tools, Symbol List, and you create a new list. And you would just go to the new list down at the bottom here, edit it, and you would just paste your symbols right in there. So on the strategy trades AI, if we go to history in real time, bring it back to today, you can see here that these shares, 52 shares, 912 shares, 74, what is that and why are they so different? Well, if I go up to my top window here, you can see that I'm doing $5,000 per trade. So for each one of these trades, I'm doing the equivalent of $5,000. 52 shares makes up $5,000 for this one. So now what I can do, if I go to Tools, Options, go to AI, I can change that. This is the one that I have. Maybe I want to do shares per trade, 100 shares per trade. Or what I really like is this risk-based on stop loss. Every one of these signals has a stop loss right here, and this will size you accordingly. If I hit save, it will size accordingly to risking $100. So if I'm to get stopped out, like I did on this one right here, over the long term, I would lose $100. So you'll never lose more than 100 getting stopped out. Another interesting way to play with it. So yeah, sure, I'll do that again. You go up to Tools, you go to Options, go to AI Trade Size. It's the bottom option on the left right here, and this is where you would select how you want the AI to be sized. Now remember, this is just from a visualization perspective, just for this particular when you wanted to take this and you wanted to automate it. If you have a premium subscription and you want to automate these signals from the AI, you can do that. I don't do that, but some people like to do that from an automated perspective, and it's a little different. So by changing it over here, the Tools Options, that's not going to change what's going to be happening in Brokerage Plus. In Brokerage Plus, you need to tell it what type of sizing you want to go ahead and use. It's not going to use that 100 share risk. You would have to go here to this edit long trading instructions, and then you could set it up to trade either dollars, shares, or based on a stop loss. So that would be your area for setting it up right there. So if you're looking for, this is for Marisol, if you're looking for an average daily range, so let's go to alert window. So this would be a filter. And so we've got the average true range. So maybe it would be better to not do an alert window, but maybe like a top list window. Of course, you could incorporate it into an alert window, but if we do average true range, and I bring that in, it's not going to make a great sort here, but let's go ahead and show the column. So this is the average true range. You can also get the range for the day. But what I like more than anything, if I was to bring in another column, let's bring in the range. That's today's range percent. And I was telling you earlier how we do things with baselines, and we allow you to find things that are happening in an abnormal basis. Well, this is one of those data points that we created that's going to show you exactly that. So let me just show the column. In fact, I'm going to bring in the server sort on that. That means I'm going to bring in the top 100 stocks that had a bigger range today than normal. And let's go ahead and hit OK. So this is going to be wide range daily bar today. All right, so now this filter is giving me something really valuable. This is telling me that SYPR, and if I bring in the daily, this daily bar right here is 600% of its normal average daily bar, which is average daily bar is 51 cents. So today it's much bigger than that. And that could bring in today's range in dollars too, so you could see that. But that's how you would use the sort orders here. That's the volume today, but let's bring it into the today's range. And so now the guy with the biggest range today, not the biggest range today, but the biggest growth in range today from its average is this guy right here. And this SYPR is not far behind. SNS, this guy was just coming through the ticker all day, early going up, late coming down. So that's I hope that helped you. The AI trade mode setting, sure, we'll come back to that. So the AI, so you have different settings. You want to set up your long trading instructions, you want to set up your short, and if you've so chosen, you have the ability to also participate in the re-entries automatically. So if something happened to be stopped out and it then reapproaches back towards that initial entry point, that would be a re-entry. So you would want to configure that as well. But if you go into the edit long trading instructions, which is exactly the same as the short, you can go ahead and name it. That's no big deal there, but this is where you determine, what is the trade mode that you're going to be using. And this is where you have to start off and say, am I going to be using the moderate mode? I don't recommend best of conservative moderate, just right off the top. I don't recommend that one at all. We are going to be adding an aggressive mode here, which will not have any stop losses. I don't know that I recommend that either, but it is an option that we offer in the viewing of the AI. So, some people don't like the stops that we're automatically suggesting. So the conservative mode is looking at, well, the best way to explain is each one of these strategies is optimized and back tested with a time stop. That means there's an initial time that says, all right, we're going to take this strategy and we're going to hold it for 60 minutes and let's do the best that we can out of it. Or we're going to hold it for 2 hours, or we're going to hold it to the end of the day. Whatever that time is, that is the time stop. And that's what the conservative trading time would be. It's going to get you out at the end of that time frame if you had not already been stopped out or exited on another algorithm like a profit save. So you need to make that decision. Do you want to be conservative, or do you want to try to hold it to the end of the day? And that's what moderate would be. You're going to try to hold this to the end of the day unless you're stopped out, and then you're stopped. Then maybe you can do the re-entries if that's what you wanted to do. You have to decide, what type of order am I going to put in? Is it going to be a limit order, a limit delta? That means I could put in at the last price plus 5 pennies, or at the last price minus, below that, minus 5 pennies. Do I want to get in with a market order? You can do that. And then the time and force that you're going to be having that order stay in the market. When you put these out there, if you're not aggressive and not taking it above the last price or something like that, maybe you want to keep it out there for a couple minutes. Maybe you want to keep it out there for 10 minutes. Totally your choice, and you have to make that decision. So you need to do this for the long, the short, and if you do want to do the re-entries, long and short, you need to do that. All right, I'm still looking here for some other questions that I may not have gotten to. If you asked it a while ago and it didn't get answered, feel free to re-enter it here. And yes, it is possible to edit the amount of the simulator. We will be allowing you guys in the future to have multiple accounts and to be able to permission it with the dollar amount that you want, so your percentages all work in a similar fashion to whatever account you're using. So that is coming. But if you want to, if you need some more capital in there, you've burned through a bunch of it, just send us an email, info@trade-ideas.com, and we will go ahead and bump that back up to 100 grand or whatever number you want. So on our latest version, and I think it's out there in beta. We've got the calendar, and the calendar is a little bit modified from the last time, where we're now populating it with the equity curves for that particular day. So you can see, not only drill into a particular day and look at the trades that occurred that you traded on, but you can get a nice visual as to your equity curve. And that's not shortly behind. I'm not in on the test mode right now, but if I was, I'd have some data coming in the performance. These are just dummy figures right here, but this is all going to be server-side generated. We're going to be providing a bunch of data to you specific to your trading. You know, how are you doing today? What is working well for you? What's your average winner, loser? And breaking this down into different time frames, not only today, but the week, the month, the year, year to date, things like that. So you're going to have a lot more visibility into your trading data. It's going to start off with the simulator, giving you the simulator data, but we'll be incorporating the live trading modes into this data as well, both the calendar as well as the performance. Yeah, Joseph, regarding the simulator, go ahead and shoot us an email to info@trade-ideas. We'll go ahead and help you out, whether we hop on your computer with a remote session or just walk you through the steps needed, but you should be able to have a simulated account. Yeah, and the calendar and performance tabs are very new, but I do believe the calendar is in the beta version. All right, guys, any other questions? We're kind of at the top of the hour, and if there aren't any other questions, I'll wrap it up here. All righty then. So, go back to Panic on Wall Street. Very well, maybe Panic on Wall Street. Let me do one quick check here so I can see where we're ending up. Not too bad. Okay. And guys, just a little bit about Trade Ideas. We've been doing this for 18 years. We love what we do. We're growing faster than we've ever grown before. There is no finish line. We're continuing to add functionality. Our pipeline is incredibly deep, so there's always going to be new stuff coming out and some new creative stuff. We've been ranked 4 times in the, over the last 4 years. It's our 4th time being ranked in the Inc. 5000. There's no question that we will be in it for a 5th time this coming year. So we're doing really well. We have you guys to thank, and I think it all boils down to the fact that every person here at Trade Ideas really does enjoy what they do. We have zero turnover. People don't leave, so it says something to the people that you're dealing with. This is the trading room that I talked about earlier. Well, it's an image of the trading room that I talked about earlier. You can get to it right from our homepage up at the top, trading room. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. It's pretty dynamic display. Barry's talking. You won't get tired of listening to him. Very charming guy. So definitely check it out. This is we put out ebooks a couple times a year. We change the topics up. This is our latest one on earnings. You can get to it by going to trade-ideas.com/earnings. We do daily support sessions as well. You can get to that right from our education tab on our homepage, where you can sign up. You can sign up for a one-on-one session. It is a paid one-on-one session where you can have one of our educators do a remote session with you for an hour. You can attend these support sessions, which are free. And you can get to it right here at trade-ideas.com/live. We are a subscription-based service. We do charge by the month or the year, but we've broken it down here by the day, about the price of a cup of coffee or a sandwich. If you guys are serious about trading, this is it's not a big expense for your business. If you're not serious about trading, then go to our free trading room. That sounded terrible. The free trading room is for a lot more than that, but yeah, you should just check it out and peruse that. We do a podcast. You can find this, do a search for Trade Ideas Podcast on your favorite podcast app, and we'll pop up there. We do this, I think, once a week. Might be a little less than that. And we're very easily reachable. You can hit us up on social media at Twitter, at Trade Ideas, at QuantBot, at Today Trader. You can hit us up on Facebook. You can call us, but the best way to reach us and interact with us is either through our chat on the homepage or through our email, which is info@trade-ideas.com. So one more thing, would this relative radar show post-market relative volume too? Yeah, no, the relative volume will work in post-market. It just doesn't work in pre-market. So thank you guys very much for spending the entire hour with me, and we'll talk soon. Scott, I'm gonna throw it back to you.
I think you got everything. So that recording will be up later on tonight or tomorrow, and we'll send everyone an email reminder about how to find that. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Barry.
Bye all.